Good evening and welcome to another episode of On Stage with Mantis. This week we have a solo artist, formerly, presently, futurely with the band New England, Mr. John Fannon. He will be interviewed this week by the lovely and talented Rob Bernstein.
Thank you.
It's the first time I ever. You're lovely
And talented.
and talented.
That's great.
Attaboy, Rob.
So, John, just maybe a little background on kind of, where you're from, where you grew up. Take us up to present.
Okay. Well, I was born in Boston. Grew up in Jamaica Plain. Went to parochial schools. Was an athlete when I was a young boy.
Yeah. What sport?
Baseball, football, a little bit of basketball. A few injuries, bad knees, bad collarbones, stuff like that. But then when I was a teenager, though, I got the music bug. And I got my first guitar when I was about 15 or 16 and never put it down.
Was it the Beatles on Ed Sullivan kind of thing?
It was. I couldn't wait every week, absolutely. The Beatles and then Dave Clark 5 and the Kinks. And
Great. So you were in bands in high school.
it definitely was in bands. And I had been playing guitar for 9 months, and I was a lead guitar player in a band. I wish I had recordings of that. Who knows how good that was? But I was doing gigs.
Good. So after high school, I think you went to UMass, didn't you?
I did. I went to UMass, studied aerospace engineering, and then, but music never left. I just this is what I wanted to do.
Well, aerospace engineering, music. It's a nice marriage.
It's a nice
there.
blend.
Good. Okay, so fast forward a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the band New England, kind of how that happened.
Well, in the 70s, it was a very vibrant, and it probably still is, but a very vibrant music scene. And people were coming from all over the country, all over the world. And there was a place called the Groggery. That was in Allston. It's no longer, but it was my favorite bar. And it was kind of where all the musicians would hang out. And I first saw this band from North Carolina. They were called Fatback. And it was a 3-piece band with a lead singer and no guitar player. And Jimmy Walder was the keyboard player. And I said, these guys are cool. They're doing like Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Yes and, all kinds of cool stuff. So anyways, we got to meet and became friends. And then Hirsch Gardner, I actually met Fatback separately. And long story short, we all ended up in a band together. So it was Hirsch Gardner and Gary Shea and Jimmy Waldo and me. And for a while we had a lead singer, and we were doing clubs all over the Northeast and the Midwest. Excuse me. And then I got recruited to be in the Annie McClune band. And Annie McClune was from Waseca, Minnesota, and she had a deal with RCA. And when you're trying to make it in the music business, that's what you do. You gotta go where the opportunity was, and it was my chance to do my first album. And we did tour for about a year, and then that went away. It just never quite made it. And at that point, being in and out of bands for many, many years, I just decided if we're going to do this, we got to have songs. So I started writing songs on my own, and after about 3 or 4 or 5 months, started coming up with some songs, and called up Gary and Hirsch and Jimmy and said, you want to do this? So we just woodshedded for a couple of years. We didn't play out. We just developed the New England sound and the songs, and we did a few demos in Philadelphia. And the third demo that we did had Don't Ever Want to Lose Ya, Hello Hello, Alone Tonight, and I believe Shoot. And when we finished that demo, we kind of all looked at each other and went, okay, I think we're onto something here. And we met some local promo people, and they actually eventually got us to O'Coin Management. And then O'Coin Management started bringing down all the record labels. And kind of a funny story about that whole experience, though. We had people like Clive Davis and Ronald Luxemburg and forget his name, but from Chrysalis Records. I mean, every major label was coming down to see us. But we always provided the limousine to pick them up at the airport. And then when they were going back to the airport, the limousine driver would report back to us what they thought, what they said. So we always had that inside information. But anyways, we had all kinds of record labels after the band, and we signed with Infinity/MCA, and met up with Paul Stanley and Mike Stone. Mike Stone of Queen and Journey and Asia of Fame, and of course Paul Stanley of Kiss. And history was made. Don't Ever Want to Lose You came out, and we were off.
So how much impact did Paul Stanley have on the first record? Was he there while you were tracking or mixing?
He was there a lot of the time. He wasn't there the whole time. He was there the first, certainly the first few weeks, maybe the first 5 or 6 weeks. He did have to go out on I don't know if any of you remember that Kiss all did solo albums right around that time. And he had to go out and promote his CD, LP back in those days. So he was gone for a couple of weeks, but for the most part he was there, and his impact was, there wasn't a lot of arranging to be done because we really had sussed it all out. So he didn't have a big impact there. But if my memory, if I remember, I don't think Don't Ever Want to Lose You originally had a guitar solo of all things, and he just looked at me and says, this is a rock song, you gotta have a guitar solo. So of course we did put a guitar solo in it, but he was great. He was great to work with. He's a good guy, and Mike Stone, tremendous engineer, and also they were both just really good people to work with.
No, that's interesting to hear. So you guys went on tour after that to promote the record?
Yes, we started. Well, our record release party was kind of cool. And don't forget now, we had not played in 2 years. We've played in our rehearsal hall. And I hadn't been a lead singer. I did it a little bit when I was younger, but I hadn't really been a lead singer in many, many, many years. So that was kind of a big deal for me, too. But we did a little Northeast tour of like 5 or 6 dates with the Outlaws. And I think you might have seen us at one of those shows.
I did, at the Pier in New York.
Okay. So we did those shows, and we might have done 1 or 2 others, but eventually we ended up, I think we did a headline in the Santa Monica Civic Center, which was kind of cool because the record was only just out. And I think we headlined in Denver, maybe Seattle, San Diego. And after we did that, then we jumped on the Kiss tour, the Dynasty tour, and we did, I think, 45 cities with them, and that was just an unbelievable experience. And to this day, I would say most of our fans, at least that we know of, had seen us on that tour. So that introduced us to the world.
Well, I mean, Kiss was one of the biggest acts at that time.
Exactly. And it was fun. And some cities we would do 2 shows. And Madison Square Garden was was a little scary of a show. Everyone was telling us around backstage that this is a very difficult place to play when you're opening up for Kiss because it's their hometown. And they said it doesn't matter how good you are. They were telling me making sure I duck when things get thrown up on stage. I'm thinking, holy cow, are you kidding me? But anyways, it didn't happen. We came out and we just took the audience and we just had them. It was as most of the time we did. It was very cool. Of course, it helps to have a record on the radio so people actually know who you are.
Right. Any no brown M&M stories or anything you can share?
Well, I could share like one story. Now we're feeling our oats. We're feeling like we are rock stars, and it's amazing to be out, from the garage to playing to 20,000 people. I mean, we just made that leap. Our first show was at the Omni in Atlanta. We got off to kind of a bumpy start there because we had followed into a radio station right after Kiss had been in there. And the DJ was baiting me, because he said, Ace was just here, and he says, they're going to wipe the stage up with you guys, and you guys are amateurs. And he just went on and on how bad we were. And so I let out this infamous statement, well, we'll let them provide the show, and we'll provide the music. So
Ouch.
Ouch. So when we walked into the arena, Paul Stanley was there, and he just looked at me, yeah. I don't know if we ever recovered from that, actually. I don't think they were very happy about that. But they baited me. But anyway, so the show went fabulous. We did a great job. We were well rehearsed, and we just sounded like the record. But anyways, we were feeling like rock stars at the end of the show. And we went backstage, back to the dressing room. And I don't know who started it. My guess it was probably Hirsch. But we started trashing which is we trashed the dressing room, and it really wasn't like our nature. We weren't like into the the Keith Moon chainsaw stuff and throwing TVs out the window. But we got a very substantial bill after that. It was the last time we ever did that.
Yeah. Someone's got to pay for that.
Somebody's got to pay for it. The band always pays for everything.
Okay, so we have like another minute left here. Bring us up to speed, kind of on what you're doing now, the impetus behind this record that you released.
Yeah, well, I've been thinking about this for years, doing a solo record, and actually, my wife Linda, happy birthday, Linda. She's the one who pushed me. Says, "Well, just do it," but it's a big undertaking. But I just started making the record. But I went out and started doing a couple of shows, and we did a couple of shows, and they were just going really, really well. So anyways, finished the record, and it's been selling all over the world, which is kind of cool, just right from my website or on iTunes or Amazon.
And what's your website, John?
Right, www.johnfannon.com. And the name of the CD is Saved All the Pieces. Can I leave camera for a second? I'm running over here.
He's grabbing a prop.
Grabbing a prop here. Somewhere in here.
There we go. That's what the CD looks like. Awesome.
Saved All the Pieces, John Fannon. Recorded in Framingham, Massachusetts.
Great. Well, I think I'm out of time, so we're going to let you get on with the music.
Okay,
John.
I'm going to have a drink and get myself ready to go. Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
Good job. Let me hear the crowd. Make some noise now out there. You got to make noise. Make me feel like I'm, in an arena here. Here we go. I grew up in the 60s, playing my guitar. I went to Woodstock to be a star. You reminded me. You reminded me. You showed me who I was. You showed me who I am. You painted a picture. Now I understand. I can see it now. I can see it now. Across the river I see the clearing in my life. All because of you. Now I can hear voices singing out loud. All because of you. All because of you. There's a story in my eyes, a book on every page, rising to the surface with every line on my face. I am rising. I am rising. You brought me to the mountain, then you kicked it aside. You gave me a ladder, and you told me to climb. I am climbing. I am climbing. Across the river I see the clearing in my life. All because of you. Now I can hear voices singing out loud. All because of you. All because of you. All because of you. Ooh, all because of